The Shariah Risk Due Diligence Project is slightly different. The Shariah Risk Due Diligence Project works on the other end of the pipeline to prevent petrodollars from influencing our way of life by insinuating Sharia into our economy, our financial system, and eventually into our laws and our culture. Sharia is a barbaric, medieval doctrine which everywhere around the world where is it enforced is an anathema to human rights, and especially rights for women and children. And most worrisome, the methodology involved with Sharia finance provides an outlet for possible funding of terrorist groups through Islamic charities. This has already occurred. There's a bank in the Bahamas that from 1988 to 2001 that was an Islamic bank that actually did funnel money to Islamic charities that were representing several terrorist groups, including Al-Qaeda and Hamas. So this is not a theory, this is something that has actually occurred. The problem with this situation, and it's known as zakat, one of the pillars of Islam, is that there is no disclosure about it. When someone decides to invest in a Sharia-compliant instrument, there's currently no disclosure about the zakat payments, where they're going to, and who makes the decision. The problem, again, is that the decision is usually made by a board of Sharia advisors, who we have found over and over again to be dominated by outright jihadists, men like Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, Sheikh Taqi Usmani. These men have written vicious things about the West and about jihad and about suicide bombing and endorsing suicide bombing, which should alert anyone in the West who is a proponent of Sharia finance that they have no business being involved in any type of system that employs these types of people. Nevertheless, banks like HSBC pay men like Taqi Usmani a great deal of money to advise them on Sharia law for their Sharia-compliant division. He turns around and he writes books telling Muslims that they have a duty to one day rise up in jihad against their fellow citizens in Western countries. But they're not required to do so until they're strong enough to do it. So there is a possible terrorist financing component to Sharia finance. There is a subsidizing of extremism and militantism through Sharia finance in paying these Sharia scholars money to advise Western financial institutions on Sharia. But even more important, perhaps, is the civilizational jihad that occurs, or sometimes called the stealth jihad that occurs as a result of Sharia finance. The jihadists seek to infiltrate our culture and society with Sharia, bit by bit, little by little. And one way that they seek to do so is by pointing out that Sharia finance already exists in the West, so it should be no problem to incorporate other aspects of Sharia into our laws and way of life. This is how things have gotten so out of hand in Britain. They originally brought in Sharia through Sharia finance. Now in Britain, Sharia law is being adopted as part of British common law, and Muslim immigrants into Britain for certain aspects of the law are able to be governed by Sharia law and not British common law when it comes to many aspects of contracts and community property and family law. The problem with this, obviously, is that you can't have two separate legal systems within one country. And you open the door to this type of thing, and it just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. Today, in Britain, polygamous marriages are allowed because of the insinuation of Sharia law into Britain. We cannot allow that to happen in the United States. And their foothold has always been through the use of Sharia finance, which the jihadists say emphatically the purpose of Sharia finance is to promote Islam around the world. They consider this missionary work. Sharia finance isn't there to provide an outlet for pious Muslims to invest their money according to Sharia principles. That is a secondary byproduct of Sharia finance. The purpose of Sharia finance is to promote Islam. It is considered missionary work in the Islamic world. We cannot allow this to happen. It is against our Constitution, it is seditious, and it is dangerous. In support of the Sharia Risk Due Diligence Program, we try to keep our followers informed about the latest developments involving Sharia finance through our Sharia Finance Watch blog. So if you go to shariafinancewatch.org, you'll see daily updates on the latest news articles involving the insinuation of Sharia finance into our way of life, and also you'll see commentary from time to time from some of the scholars here at the Center. The Divest Terror Initiative also has its own website at divestterror.org, and there you can access the latest updates on state sponsorship of terrorism and also legislation here in the United States to cut off corporate life support for the terrorist sponsors.